Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into one of the most essential but maybe misunderstood molecules in our bodies, cortisol.
Definitely misunderstood. Everyone knows it as the stress hormone.
Right, just the stress hormone. But that sounds so simple, and the reality, especially for reproductive health, is it's just so much more profound.
It is, because cortisol isn't inherently the bad guy. I mean, it's your body's alarm clock. It's the crisis manager.
It gets you up in the morning.
Exactly. The adrenal glands produce it. It dumps glucose into your bloodstream for energy. It sharpens your focus, to get you ready for a challenge.
But the system was designed for, like, a short-term threat, a saber-toothed tiger,
Yeah.
not a year of nonstop deadlines.
Not a year of deadlines, no. And that's where the problem starts. We're focusing on what happens when that crisis state just becomes the new normal.
When cortisol levels stay pathologically high.
Yes, that chronic abnormal elevation. And it just acts as this massive biological roadblock, especially for couples trying to conceive.
So our deep dive today is really built around that problem. First, what's pushing this hormone so far out of bounds?
Right, the specific drivers. Then, how exactly does it disrupt fertility in both men and women? And then, crucially, we're going to explore some solutions.
And it's a fascinating mix, from ancient practices like acupuncture all the way up to modern tech like the neurovisor device.
It's a journey that connects our fight-or-flight response directly to our ability to create life.
So let's start with those root causes. We know the adrenal glands produce cortisol in a healthy daily rhythm. It peaks in the morning to wake you up.
Yep.
But when we talk about those damaging, sustained high levels, what are the culprits beyond just, having a rough life?
Well, it's so important to move beyond that simple idea of stress because there are definite medical causes. Chronic stress work, relationships, that's the most common driver for sure. It keeps the body's alarm system on.
But there are other, more direct physiological issues.
Absolutely. Things like Cushing's syndrome, for instance.
Cushing's, that sounds serious.
It is. It's a really key example of pathological overproduction. In that case, you're usually looking at tumors on the pituitary or adrenal glands that are just forcing the body to pump out excessive cortisol. It's a medical issue.
And then there's the effect of medication, which can be a bit more subtle, I imagine.
Yes, very subtle. Long-term use of steroids, prescribed for things like asthma or arthritis, it basically mimics the effects of high cortisol in the body.
So your body thinks it's under stress, even though the trigger is a medication.
Precisely. And that can suppress your body's own ability to regulate itself.
So if you're listening, it might not just be a tough week at work. It could be an underlying condition or even a necessary prescription that's throwing things off.
And then you have those slightly lower-level chronic drivers, the insidious ones.
Like what?
Obesity is a big one. It's associated with mild to moderate cortisol increases just due to metabolic stress and inflammation.
Okay.
Same for untreated depression, alcohol abuse, or even something like sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea. How does that connect?
Well, think about it. That constant cycle of waking up for a split second because you're out of oxygen, your body registers that as a physical threat. It spikes cortisol again and again all night long.
Wow. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, hormonally speaking.
It really is.
So how does someone know if they should look into this? I mean, apart from just feeling stressed, what are the red flags?
The symptoms often get dismissed as just, being tired or getting older, but they tend to cluster. You want to look for persistent, unexplained fatigue, even if you feel like you're getting enough sleep.
Okay.
A key one is central weight gain, fat depositing specifically around the abdomen. High cortisol really promotes that.
It's a stress belly.
That's the one. And you might also see severe mood swings, maybe trouble with blood sugar, or just this constant low-grade anxiety you can't shake.
Those are pretty clear warning signs. And if someone does suspect an issue, is it hard to diagnose?
Not at all, thankfully. The process is very straightforward. Because cortisol levels shift during the day, doctors often use simple blood, saliva, or urine tests.
And they time it.
They time it, sometimes over 24 hours or with a late-night sample to see if your cortisol is dropping like it should. If it's not, that confirms the problem.
Okay, let's shift from the cause to the effect.
Right.
This is where we see the reproductive system take such a direct hit.
It all comes down to an evolutionary context. The body prioritizes survival above everything else.
Right.
When cortisol is high, the brain's interpretation is that there's a famine or a war or some extreme danger. And from that perspective, it's the worst possible time to get pregnant.
So it just shuts things down. Non-essential systems.
Reproduction is deemed non-essential under duress. Exactly.
Let's get specific on the shutdown process in the female body. What's the first domino to fall?
The most immediate impact is on ovulation. High cortisol directly interferes with the signaling hormones GnRH, specifically that trigger the release of an egg.
So it can just press pause on the whole menstrual cycle.
It can, leading to irregular periods or even stopping them altogether.
And the system is so sensitive. We saw a statistic in the research that really drives this home.
Yes, this is the number you should remember. Studies show that even a sustained, moderate, get this, 20% increase in cortisol can be enough to halt ovulation.
Just 20%. That's not a full-blown crisis. That's just modern life for a lot of people.
It's the chronic daily grind. It suggests so many women with conception issues might be dealing with hormonal noise created purely by their environment.
Wow. Okay, so beyond stopping ovulation, what if an egg does get fertilized? Does cortisol still cause problems?
It absolutely does. It sabotages the uterine environment.
How so?
Cortisol lowers the production of progesterone, and progesterone's whole job is to build up that thick, nutrient-rich uterine lining for an embryo.
So without enough progesterone, the lining is less receptive.
Significantly less receptive. It makes it so much harder for a fertilized egg to implant successfully.
And this is why we see issues in fertility treatments.
Yes, women with high cortisol going into IVF often have lower success rates and, critically, a higher risk of early miscarriage. The body just isn't ready to host the pregnancy.
So a huge impact on female fertility. But men are not off the hook here. How does high cortisol show up for them?
For men, it's all about the suppression of testosterone.
Okay.
Cortisol and testosterone, they're kind of in a zero-sum game. They share biological pathways. When the body is screaming for cortisol to handle stress, it basically steals the resources away from making testosterone.
And lower testosterone.
Yeah.
That means fewer sperm, obviously. But does it affect the quality too?
The quality is maybe the more critical part. Yes, you get lower sperm counts, but high cortisol also floods the body with oxidative stress.
Which is like cellular rust, right?
Perfect analogy. It's cellular rust, and it does profound damage to those delicate reproductive cells. So you get poorer sperm quality, issues with their shape, what we call morphology, and most worryingly, increased DNA fragmentation.
So the genetic blueprint inside the sperm is literally damaged before it even gets to the egg.
Exactly. And even if a sperm with fragmented DNA fertilizes an egg, that pregnancy often isn't viable. Plus, cortisol messes with motility, how well the sperm can swim.
It really hammers home that fertility is a team sport. This isn't a male or female issue, it's a couples issue.
Absolutely. The stress hormone is an equal opportunity disruptor.
Okay, so let's pivot to solutions.
Yeah.
What are the proven natural ways to dial this master switch down? We can start with ancient medicine, acupuncture.
Acupuncture is a great place to start. It's a really well-supported, non-drug approach. And the mechanism isn't mystical, it's neurochemical.
Right.
When you needle specific points, you stimulate the nervous system to release endorphins.
It's feel-good chemicals.
The feel-good chemicals, yeah. And they directly compete with and counter the production of cortisol.
So what are the actual measurable fertility benefits that come from that?
You see a few things. First, just by lowering that systemic stress, it helps regulate the menstrual cycle. It brings back consistency.
Predictability.
Exactly. Second, certain points can improve blood flow directly to the reproductive organs, optimizing the whole environment. And maybe the most validated piece.
The IVF data.
The IVF data. Studies show it significantly boosts IVF success rates, especially when it's done right before and after the embryo transfer. It just calms the whole system down during that peak stress moment.
And that's hard evidence that managing stress isn't just nice to have. It's a critical part of the treatment.
It is. And working hand in hand with acupuncture is herbal medicine, specifically using what we call adaptogens.
Adaptogens. So the name suggests they help you adapt. It's not just blocking stress.
That's the perfect way to think about it. They're non-toxic plants that help your body normalize its functions under stress.
Yeah.
They help you manage it more effectively.
How do they work?
Well, traditional Chinese medicine uses these herbs to act on the brain's hormonal command center, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis.
Okay, let's break that down for everyone. The HPA axis. What is that in simple terms?
Think of it as the communication switchboard. It connects your brain, the hypothalamus and pituitary, to your stress glands, the adrenals. When your brain sees a threat, it uses that axis to tell the adrenals to release cortisol, Adaptogens help modulate that system, so the switchboard isn't just constantly stuck on high alert.
So that clearer communication means the reproductive axis, the HPG axis, can get back to doing its job.
Precisely. And you see outcomes like improved fertility chances, even in women with really challenging conditions like premature ovarian insufficiency.
But these aren't silver bullets.
No, not at all. They are complementary. You get the best results when you combine acupuncture and adaptogens with lifestyle changes,
Yeah.
moderate exercise, good quality sleep. That's when you see real noticeable improvements.
Okay, so we've covered the problem and two powerful ancient approaches. Now let's jump forward. The source material brought up a fascinating tool called the neurovisor device.
Yeah.
This feels like a big leap. How does a wearable light and sound headset claim to fix a deep hormonal imbalance?
So the NeuroVisor is a wearable headset. It uses synchronized patterns of light through the eyes and sound through headphones, and it is very explicitly a wellness tool, not a medical device.
That's an important distinction.
Yeah.
Why is it so explicitly not medical if it's having these effects?
That's a crucial question. It's non-medical because it doesn't diagnose or treat a disease. It's focused on modulating your brain state. And the mechanism is a phenomenon called brainwave entrainment.
Brainwave entrainment. So it's hacking your brainwaves.
In a sense, yes, your brain operates on electrical frequencies, right? Beta waves for focus, alpha for relaxation.
Okay.
By flashing light and sound patterns at a specific slow frequency, say an alpha rhythm, it encourages your brain's own electrical activity to match that frequency, to entrain to it.
So it's actively interrupting those high-frequency stress patterns that keep you in fight or flight mode.
You got it. It's an acoustic and visual neural reset.
And this happens quickly.
Remarkably quickly. We're talking sessions of around 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
And the immediate biological result is a drug-free activation of your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest mode. Your heart rate slows, and your cortisol levels naturally drop.
And the user feedback must be pretty strong then.
It is. Anecdotally, users report feeling profoundly more relaxed, getting better sleep, and just feeling less anxious overall.
But let's connect the dots again. How does a calmer nervous system translate directly to better sperm or regular ovulation? It still feels a bit indirect.
It's indirect, but it's structurally powerful. When you consistently lower your cortisol, you stop that stress hormone from constantly interfering with that HPG axis we talked about.
The reproductive command chain.
The command chain. For women, that allows for the return of regular healthy cycles. For men, less cortisol means testosterone can normalize. That leads to better sperm count and quality, largely by reducing that system-wide oxidative stress.
And then there's the mental health aspect. The fertility journey itself is incredibly stressful.
Absolutely. It becomes this vicious cycle, a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the stress of trying to conceive spikes your cortisol even more.
And a tool like this could break that cycle.
Exactly. Providing a reliable 11-minute reset can dramatically improve mood and emotional stability, making the whole process less overwhelming. You're tackling the mental feedback loop that was sabotaging the body.
And wellness centers are actually integrating this technology now.
They are, and it shows a real paradigm shift.
Hmm.
The Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness in New York, which is famous for its holistic approach with acupuncture and herbs, is now integrating neurovisor therapy.
So they're not replacing the old with the new.
Not at all. They're enhancing it. They use the neural entrainment to lower that baseline cortisol level, which improves blood flow, reduces oxidative stress, and that makes all the other treatments, whether they're herbal or medical, more effective.
That connection really is the core takeaway here. We started with this idea of chronic stress and high cortisol being the villain.
And we established that it creates a genuine biological barrier to conception. It cripples ovulation in women and the very quality of sperm in men.
But then we mapped out these solutions that address the root cause, synthesizing ancient therapies like acupuncture with modern, non-invasive tech like the neurovisor.
It's about tackling that stress response holistically from every angle.
And I think what this synthesis implies about the future of wellness is probably the most provocative thought to leave you with.
I agree.
When you have solutions ranging from centuries-old herbal medicine to an 11-minute light and sound brain reset,
Yeah.
what does that tell us?
It forces you to consider that the fastest route to resolving complex issues like infertility might not always be in a new drug or a more invasive procedure.
It might be in mastering the management of the body's primary control system.
The stress response itself.
If the problem is that your body thinks it's under siege, the solution is to convince it that it's safe. That's a powerful framework to carry forward. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure. We hope this knowledge brings some clarity to your journey.